The F1 2024 season hasn't even yet started, but that hasn't stopped the big news coming out of one of the teams. Haas are parting ways with two prominent team members. Team principal Guenther Steiner won't be with the team going forward, who departs after nearly 10 years with the organisation. Alongside him, Technical Director Simone Resta is also leaving, so it's a double whammy for Haas. I'm Sam Hall, and joining me to break down what's happened and what it could mean for Haas going forward is Jon Noble. Welcome, Jon, and let's jump right in, really. Why is Steiner out, and what has prompted this decision?
Well, I think the root of the decision comes back to last season, 10th in the Constructors' Championship. You know, money matters in Formula One. You get less money finishing lower down in the Constructors' Championship. Gene Haas, team owner, wants to do better. I think there's a kind of a big evaluation, big deep dive last year into what went wrong. The car itself, you know, some elements of it were good. The quick in qualifying, struggled in races. They pinned hopes on this upgrade for Austin, going down the kind of downwash Red Bull concept. Didn't really work. Bit of unclear direction. They split at the end. I think Gene wants to see a change. And I think there was just a kind of a divergence of opinion, if we put it politely, about what direction. I think Guenther felt that the team needed more investment, ramping up of facilities, pushing things forward on that front. And I think Gene felt the team had everything it wanted. It just needed to use things more efficiently, make better use of the resources, the brain power. And I think he felt it was better. We'll go down the engineering route with Ayao Komatsu, step him up into the thing, and just go off in a different direction.
And as you've just alluded to there, we have learnt who the new team principal will be. It will be Ayao Komatsu. Can you give us a quick rundown of him and whether he's the right man for the job, in your opinion?
Yeah, he follows a trend, really. We've seen this kind of phases that Formula One goes through of different types of team principal. You originally, from the 80s or 70s and 80s and into 90s, it was team owners, the likes of Ron Dennis, Eddie Jordan, Frank Williams. They were the team principal. Then you kind of moved into a corporate era, where the big manufacturers involved and appointed people to run these from a corporate perspective. And now I think more recently we've seen engineers stepping up. We've seen Andrea Stella do a brilliant job at McLaren, having come up from the pit wall. James Vowell, a strategist at Mercedes, was taken at Williams. You've seen Bruno Famin at Alpine, and now Ayao at Haas. It's just engineering-led doctrine, which I think comes from the cost cap, that teams, no longer can have these huge organizations, and you're no longer scrabbling around for every penny you can get, knowing that if you find another 10, 20, $30 million of sponsorship, that's added performance. So it's a different way of operating it. And I think we're also in an era where engineering really matters with these cars. It's this ground effect era, very, very complicated cars. Engineering is absolutely at the heart of it. It's the interaction between aerodynamics, suspension, your ride height, all that sort of aspects that it comes from the pit wall and comes from engineering. And if you understand the car, as Red Bull did and as McLaren showed, that performance is there to be unlocked. So I think Gene has looked at the situation. Ayu's got a long history of engineering on multiple aspects. He's worked at the Lotus team, started at BAR, worked at Lotus, had a career in Formula 3, joined Haas when it started. Has been on the pit walls, stepped up, engineering director, and now moving up again. And I guess Gene is hoping he can do similar to what Andrea Stella has done at McLaren, and engineer leading the team, and hopefully the engineering decisions can equal better performance on Sundays.
And talking about engineering decisions, really a new technical director as well, with Simone Resta also leaving. What are your thoughts regarding this? It's almost a technical overhaul, it seems, of the whole team.
Yeah, I'm not sure how this. I don't think this is directly related to the Guenther situation, but probably a consequence of the same thing, which was the 10th place in the constructors last year. That something had to change if this team was going to move forward. So I think there was the decision on one aspect was Gene and Guenther, and decided to go down the AA route. But I think this is maybe more Ferrari, from what I understand, more Ferrari led. That's part of the relationship that Haas have had with Ferrari. They've been their customer since 2016, very close technical relationship. There's the Maranello hub, which has a lot of kind of loaned out Ferrari staff who work for Haas. From what I understand, for whatever reason, whether it was prompted by Simone, prompted by Ferrari have pulled him back into their regime, so to speak. So I don't know if he's going to go to Ferrari F1 team as part of the new structure under Vasseur. There's been some rumours he could end up at Audi. We don't know yet. But for Haas, I think what will eventually happen is Ferrari will potentially find another engineer, bring someone there. Because I think Ferrari has always understood that having this relationship with Haas can be a two-way thing, really, that there can be benefits to be had from Ferrari in this customer relationship. You can develop staff, you can have greater understanding of technical aspects. So I think that won't be as major a problem. It's a good headline to have today, but I don't think it'll be as big a bump in the road as some may expect.
And talking of bumps in the road, what does this change in terms of the team's approach for 2024? Will it have an impact? And do you see that there could be a wider, longer-reaching impact with the loss of both Steiner and Resta?
Yeah, I think the loss of Steiner will be felt. While Gene felt that maybe an engineering-led team principal was the best route, you can't ignore the strengths that Guenther brought to that team. He was its face and character. He's become a superstar thanks to Netflix. And that's had knock-on consequences. He brought MoneyGram in as a title sponsor. They've openly talked about the value and attraction of someone like Guenther, who had his own style. Some liked it. With Guenther, a spade was very much a spade with him, that he told it as it was. Didn't make him popular all the time, but that's how he dealt with it. But there was an attraction there, and I think you've also got to look at other teams. When you look at how McLaren have done it, they've got Andreas Stella is the engineering team boss, but you've got Zach Brown there on the commercial side. This kind of joint team boss. AlphaTauri, which has gone under a bit of a restructuring now with more input from Red Bull. They've picked Peter Bayer to work alongside Lauren Mekies. So again, you've got these two-pronged approach. So I think while Haas have a plan to bring in a CAO who'll be factory-based to work on some of the commercial side, I do wonder if perhaps they'll lose a little bit of Guenther's influence in the paddock and dealing with the politics and dealing with the commercial aspects, which I think still are critically important. You can't ignore the engineer aspects of a Formula One team, but it's not the be-all and end-all of an F1 team. So I think it'll be interesting how that develops as we go forwards.
And finally, what do Haas have to do now to progress this year? I mean, obviously, bottom of the constructors last year, so in theory, it's not too hard to make progress. But what would progress look like for them this year?
Well, I think progress is a step forward from the bottom. But what worries me is they didn't particularly have an answer at the end of last season. When you look at where teams that made missteps like Mercedes, like Ferrari, they kind of spent last year understanding things, getting answers, and seem by the end of the season to feel pretty confident that what they're preparing for this season, they know what they need to do. Now just a question of executing it. Whereas I think at Haas, they had pinned his hopes on the upgrades from Austin, didn't deliver what they were hoped for. A bit of a division in the garage between Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen about which was the best route to go for. So I think critical will be, over this winter, have they understood what went wrong last year? Do they know what they need to do, or is it going to be another year of kind of learning and understanding and trying to plot a path? Because I think what we found with these cost cap regulations is once you kind of throw down your hand at the start of the season with your car concepts and car design and car ideas, that's it really. There's very little room to come back for it. It's why Mercedes couldn't do all they wanted to do last year. It's why Ferrari couldn't make the massive overhaul they wanted. So pretty much if the overall concept of Haas isn't the right at the start of the season, I think it will be difficult for them to make a lot of progress as they move forwards. But maybe, over the winter, they've found these answers. They've worked out what they needed to do. And the step they come into 24 can just push them on, because that car was quick at times last year, especially in qualifying on a single lap. It obviously switched its tyres on really, really well. Two very good drivers in Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg. They've got the experience. They know how to push it forward. So I think the basic ingredients are there. It's just a case of, is that car concept something they can work with, improve, develop, hone, and deliver those points on a Sunday? Because it doesn't particularly matter how quick you are on Saturdays. If you can qualify 5th or 4th and be a superhero on a Saturday, but if you're ending up 18th, 17th on a Sunday, it's for nothing.
Thanks for joining me for this video, Jon, and hopefully we will soon find out how this will affect Haas in the upcoming year. The season's fast approaching with car launches in just under a month, so not long to wait now. Do you agree with this decision? As always, let us know what you think in the comments below and stick around for our upcoming coverage of the 2024 Formula One season.